So I want to share my testimony really quick. I remember I went through a situation where I was best friends with this guy, and I simply thought the world of our friendship. I mean, it was very dear and near to my heart. And even God told me that the relationship was the most meaningful thing to me. I thought other things was, because he asked me a question. He was like, can you give up the very thing that you love the most for me? And I named something completely different, but God was like, no. He was like, your friendship with this particular person. He was like, would you be willing to give that up for me? And so, I'm like, sure, like, but not thinking that he would actually test me. And then too, God also knew some conversations that had been had that I didn't hear, and some things that were being said about me, and come to find out this person was talking about being behind my back, and he just portrayed me. And so he went on with his life like nothing had happened. And so I was very hurt, extremely hurt, because I trusted this person, I trusted this individual, and I just couldn't understand why he turned on me the way that he did. But before it happened, the Lord told me, he said, you and this person will not be friends anymore. And I'm thinking like, but why, God? And so then things started coming out. I started hearing the rumors, and I started hearing the stuff, and then he just stopped talking to me. Like, we would pass each other and he wouldn't say a word to me. And he started becoming friends with other people, and I couldn't understand that. I'm like, what is happening? And so I began to harbor unforgiveness in my heart towards this person, because I didn't want to accept that our friendship was over, because it was very near and dear to my heart. And I didn't understand. I had no understanding of what was happening. And so I was very angry. And then on top of that, the Lord saw my anger, and I felt justified in my anger. But I remember being I was crying. And so, because of what that person did to me, in that situation that happened that day. And so I remember crying, and I was in college at this time. I was walking upstairs to my dorm room, and I heard the Lord say, you still have to love them. And I got so angry with God, because I was like, God, how dare you? And I said, God, how dare you ask of me to love somebody, and you saw what they did for me. You saw what they did to me. I'm like, God, how dare you ask of me to do this? And I said, this person has betrayed my trust. This person has done things that I would have never did to them. Because one thing about me, I am loyal. And one thing about loyal people, the stuff that gets done to us, we would never do to other people. So it hurts different for us. And it goes much deeper. Like, the wound is much deeper, because we're so loyal. And our biggest thing is loyalty. So when the Lord told me you still have to love them, I became so angry with God. I stopped talking to God for an entire year. This is somebody who went from praying daily and trying to grow more spiritually in God. But when he told me that, I stopped talking to God for a whole year. I was mad at them. I was mad at God. And I didn't want to talk to nobody. And I didn't say a word to God for an entire year. I went on with my life like nothing. I didn't say a word. And I just remember being so tired of carrying it around. It almost became, it was like a weight that I was carrying, and it became so heavy to where I'm like, God, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I remember just walking in my dorm room. I dropped my bags, and I was just like, God, I can't do this no more. I said, I let it go. When I tell you, it was like a weight lifted off of me, like a very heavy weight. Just, I felt it leave. It lifted off of me, and I could hear the voice of God again. And he told me, he said, had you have died in that state, he said, in hell you would have lifted up your eyes. And here I am, although I'm not talking to God, but I still feel like, okay, I'm a Christian. Like, I still have my salvation. But the Lord was like, no, unforgiveness is a sin. And he said, if you'd have stayed in that state, if you would have stayed in that unforgiveness state, because the Bible said that we must forgive in order to be forgiven. And he said, if you'd have stayed in that state, he said, in hell, you would have lifted up your eyes. But the thing about it, where the enemy had me tricked, was he made me feel like my unforgiveness was justified, like I had a right to have this unforgiveness, and he made it seem like it was justifiable. But according to God, it's not. We must forgive.